Joe Whitt Jr. was asked about Trey Amos, and he said, Trey has a good day every day. Now, if you've listened to Joe Whitt Jr. cuts, which Kevin plays them on a regular basis, and I, had to cut them a lot last season, he is great at the podium. He's a really good speaker, and he really hypes his guys up a little bit. It's like if Ron Rivera had charisma. That's pretty much what Joe Whitt is. Like, he's just a really, really good speaker.
Anytime he speaks, I'm ready to run through a brick wall.
Like, you're like, hey, I'll go play DB right now.
Yeah,
like I'm ready for it.
Let's do it.
But him praising Trey Amos, I think, is a part of a little bit of a bigger conversation that I have been a little hesitant to have, knowing that Terry isn't practicing. Terry McLaurin not practicing impacts everybody because that means the DBs are not going up against the team's best wide receiver. However, in what I have seen from the DBs, particularly on Saturday was a great day for the DBs just from a coverage standpoint. I thought there wasn't a lot of turnovers. That's partly because you're facing off against Jane Daniels, and Jane's not going to turn the football over. There was one interception, and I don't remember if it was Hartman or Josh Johnson that threw it. I think it was Hartman. It was a tip that Quan Martin was able to come down with. Not a lot of turnovers on Saturday, but in just watching in 11-on-11s, the DBs are good, man. Like, they're really good. And that's one of the things that I'm most excited to see about the joint practice with New England and then elements of the preseason game. Do not expect to see Marshawn Lattimore in the preseason game. Wouldn't expect a ton from Mikey Sanders still if we see him at all. My guess is that preseason game number 1 is going to be used for a lot of the guys that need good quality reps on tape. So your second strings, your third strings.
Your Bill Merritts.
But I do, Max, think you will see Trey Amos. Rookie.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about Trey Amos right now is we sit here with Joe Whitt Jr. saying every day is a good day for Trey. I don't know that it's a shoo-in that he's going to be starting week 1. And I say that not because he's underperformed. He's been really good. But they are 5 guys deep. They have a really good unit. If Marshawn Lattimore is healthy, which I believe him to be, he starts on one side. Another guy that really stood out to me on Saturday in particular was Jonathan Jones on the outside, a near 10-year vet in the NFL.
A pilot.
Has Super Bowl experience in playing with New England, and he is the latest mercenary on defense. 1-year deal. I got to take advantage of it, see if I can get some more money. But he's played really, really well. Now, again, it's tough to judge them based off of what they do in practice against one another because, with respect, guys like KJ Osborne don't separate the same way Terry does. Guys like Chris Moore don't separate the same way that Terry does. Ja'Cory Brooks, Jalen Lane, like you name it. Outside of Debo and Zach Ertz.
There's also stuff like that they're sitting on and stuff like that. You see route combos, you see lineups.
You get comfortable and you can kind of scope them out a little bit.
You can cheat a little bit more.
But there is just the coverage there has been really, really strong. And I was talking to Stanford Steve. Stanford Steve was out there on Saturday.
Really?
So I was talking to him. He and I were just kind of sitting over there. He was looking at Connerly. I was watching 31 because I was just interested. He stuck out to me a couple of times, and I was like, I should probably keep watching him as he gets rotated on. And then come to the conclusion, you got 5 guys out there that you feel really confident with. Noah I was DB3 at the end of last year, and I felt pretty good about Noah I being DB3. I knew this year he was going to fall at least a little bit down the ladder. I would say that right now Noah I is DB5. You have the 4 other guys, Jonathan Jones, Marshawn Lattimore, Mikey, and Trey Amos, and then you have Noah I. If I felt good about him at DB3 last year, he's a great DB5.
You know what's great about this conversation that we're having, Denton? Unofficial depth chart comes out a little bit later today.
I am begging them to drop this before the end of the show. I don't know when it's going to come out. It's probably going to come out at like 3 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
I'm begging them. Like, I know practice is done. The coordinators have each spoken. You probably had an idea of what that unofficial depth chart was looking like before practice. I am begging them to drop this so we can examine it before we get out of here today, because I want to see where certain guys land, particularly the defensive backs, as to who is going to be the projected unofficial starter on the outside across from Marshawn Lattimore. Because like Lattimore being CB1 is guaranteed at this
Locked.
point. Like that is a lock. He is the best. When he is playing at his best, he is the best CB1. You have 4 other guys, really 3 other guys. I don't think that Noah I is going to be starting outside. But you have 3 other guys that realistically could all play outside. Because Jonathan Jones, I'd feel comfortable with playing outside. If Trey Amos is balling to the point where they are comfortable putting him outside, then I feel really good about him playing outside with Mikey on the slot, knowing that you're going to get all 3 of those guys on basically every single down, on probably 80%, 90% of the snaps. There will be a couple packages where you're in like goal line and you're like, hey, let's get the DBs out of here. We'll just have 2, and then we're going to throw a bunch of the big bodies, the large humans in there. So you'll get those obviously throughout the course of the season, but you know that you're going to get a large amount of nickel package and then potentially a good amount of dime package. Yeah. So if you get those 4 guys with Sandra Still, Lattimore, Jonathan Jones, and Trey Amos out there, that's a pretty darn good group. And I'm really excited to see how they go and match up against New England, where you're going to be hitting for real and you're going to be seeing route concepts that you are not seeing on a daily basis, going up against an offense that you do not see on a daily basis. Ooh. What is that communication going to look like? I am hoping and anticipating that a guy like Stephon Diggs is going to be ready to practice and practicing in full for New England. So, sometimes in just these one-day joint practices, they'll hold veterans out. I don't want to hold veterans out. I want to see Diggs go up against these DBs. I want to see
Kyle Williams.
I want to see Kyle Williams go up against these DBs, although admittedly, they should eat Kyle Williams for breakfast.
You would hope.
Diggs is a little different because Diggs, very similarly to Zach Ertz, has certain nuances, while athleticism might not be peak anymore, especially coming off of a massive knee injury. He still has the nuances of creating separation with some little things, understanding how to run routes, basically working the DB to get to a position where he always has leverage. So there are a lot of things that a veteran-laden wide receiver like Stephon Diggs would do really, really well. And you would learn a lot if you're Trey Amos going up against a guy like a Stephon Diggs. How is Mikey Sanders still going to go up against a guy like a Stephon Diggs? So I want to see them work against an offense that they are not familiar with. But everything that I've seen from the DBs leaves me feeling pretty darn good about this position group going into 2025 and going into week 1 against New York. And I think in turn, what happens when you have a great defensive backfield is it make everybody's life easier in front of them, specifically the defensive line. While no one has been on the defensive line an absolute stud, so to speak, you've seen some really flash plays from guys like a Johnny Newton, like a Javon Kinlaw. I saw Javon Kinlaw up close and personal, Max, for the
as big as a house.
First time. He is without question one of the 4 largest human beings I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
So I had seen him before in practice, but I was on the field, for the family day element of it, and seeing him in pads standing next to like other humans. And, part of that is because family day, you do not see like the largest human beings in the world. It's a lot of kids out there. Mm-hmm. It's a lot
of size comparisons.
Right. There's a lot of big difference in the size, but just looking at him turning over after I'm watching Terry, right? And I turn over and I see Javon Kinlaw and I'm like, oh my God, like that guy's built like Thor.
Who's this monster?
I was like, this guy is a legitimate monster. And all of a sudden, while I still am a little skeptical of the contract that they gave him, just because the contract was way over market value, as we love talking about, we love market value.
We do.
That contract was a little high. I don't think anyone else was going to pay Javon Kinlaw $15 a year. They decide to do that, and then you see him, and you're like, all right, I kind of get it. You know what? Maybe he hasn't had the most amount of success in New York, but New York sucks. They're not good.
Jets are the Jets.
We're much better. We have a much better operation. Like we got hurt in San Francisco. That's why it didn't work out there. And then he wanted to go play with Robert Saleh. That was just he was in a bad spot. He's going to be so much better here. I'm excited to see how they rotate guys because I think Deron Payne's going to have a pretty decent season this year. I'm really excited for Johnny Newton and that trio of guys on the defensive tackle rotation I think is going to make life very, very difficult for some opposing offensive lines. And I think that has helped in large part if you have a great defensive backfield. It's funny. So you made a comment earlier, and I'm thinking it. Everyone is thinking it. You're like, hey, Dan Quinn, you want to rebuild the LOB, the Legion of Boom defense?
I never said that.
I did,
but
I'm thinking it. I'm looking at it saying like, hey, like, what's up?
I'm seeing shades.
That Dallas defense, not last year, obviously, but 2 years ago, that was a turnover machine. Good. There were some similarities, not quite Legion of Boom, obviously, but it is important to point out that the Legion of Boom was a defensive backfield, great defense first. Bobby Wagner was really good, but he was still very young in his career. That defense was led by the defensive backfield. So Earl it is Thomas. Capable to have a really good defense that is defensive backfield first. And I love Quan Martin, especially a healthy Quan Martin. I like Mikey the same way that all you like Mikey. If what we're hearing about Trey Amos and what we're seeing about Trey Amos looks the part against other teams, you should be starting to get a little giddy. You should be starting to feel a certain kind of way that's all positive. Because if they just start to create some turnovers, the worst thing, I don't care who is playing wide receiver. I want it to be Terry. I don't care who's playing wide receiver. The worst thing that you can do as an opposing team is give Jaden Daniels a short field. You give Jaden Daniels a short field, he is going to put points up on the board. And if this defense can start to create some turnovers and they got guys to play the ball really well, Trey Amos plays the ball the way that Ron Rivera thought Emmanuel Forbes was going to play the ball. He's just a lot better at actually playing football too, and understands the coverages and understands how to play physical defense when needed at the line of scrimmage, but can also drop back and is not just getting played the same way that Emmanuel Forbes would oftentimes get played like a fiddle. So there's some really good things to be excited about on this defense. I'm excited to see what Wednesday is going to look like. We'll have obviously a bunch of people out there, or at least some people out there. I'm sure Kevin is going to be excited about that as well. He's back tomorrow, by the way. So Kevin will be back tomorrow. Right now, it's the final day of Denton Day in for Kevin Sheehan.